Unlock your soul's secrets. Dreams reveal what's haunting you forever. The night was charged with a strange electricity, as if the very air vibrated with secrets just waiting to be uncovered. In the small town of Millville, shadows whispered of the peculiar happenings that seemed to envelop its sleepy streets, especially when darkness fell. Homes seemed to sigh with the weight of unfulfilled dreams and restless spirits. Inside a modest house on Oak Street, Emma Sanders tossed and turned in her sleep, her dreams drenched in a vivid tapestry of horror and intrigue. A voice echoed repeatedly in her mind, a raspy whisper warning her, "Unlock the door before it's too late." Each word sent chills rippling through her body. She could see the door in her dream, an ancient wooden structure pulsating with a faint, eerie glow. The closer she got, the more her heart raced, pounding against her chest as if demanding to know what lay beyond. Each time she reached for the handle, the facade warped and twisted, pulling her deeper into a labyrinth of disorienting visions. Invisible hands tugged at her, urging her to go on, but a paralyzing fear gripped her tight. Who or what was waiting behind that door? The next morning brought no relief. Emma awoke to the remnants of that haunting dream twisting in her mind. As she sipped her coffee, the sun streaming through the window, she noticed a flicker of movement in her peripheral vision. A dark figure darted past her window, but when she turned to look, there was nothing there but dappled shadows dancing on her porch. Her heart dropped. This wasn't the first time she had seen the figure. It had become a nightly spectator in her life. It always watched, always waited. Why was it so interested in her? As the sun sank low, painting the sky blood-red, Emma felt an unfamiliar urgency gnawing at her insides. She needed answers. What truth lay behind her dreams that wrapped around her like chains? Fear mixed with a flicker of eagerness. She couldn't shake the idea that unlocking that door in her dreams could lead to a hard truth, a truth that had long been buried. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As night fell yet again, Emma's pulse quickened. The distant sound of raindrops tapped against her window, but inside, she felt an icy grip of dread. She sat on her bed, the only warmth from the orange glow of her bedside lamp. Clarity surged within her. She needed to confront whatever was lurking in her dreams. She glanced at the clock, each tick a cruel reminder of the time slipping away. What if the figure haunted more than just her dreams? Had it been watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? With a shaky breath and trembling hands, she pulled up the dream journal she'd kept hidden under the floorboards. She flipped through the pages, filled with wild scrawls and half-mad sketches, her haunting dreams morphing into horrifying art, a surreal reflection of her disturbed psyche. And there, at the back, was a sketch of the door just like the one in her dream. Something deep inside her ignited. She had to unlock her fears or risk losing herself forever. But as she traced the outline of the door, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was listening, something that had no intention of letting her go. What truth lied behind the door that had haunted her dreams? Was she ready to face it? Emma's heart raced, her mind a whirlwind of questions and fear. She could feel the weight of the night pressing down on her, each droplet of rain resonating with the pounding in her chest. What awaited her behind that door? The images from her dreams clamored for attention, the whispers growing louder, demanding she take action. Time was slipping away, and she knew she had to face the darkness. Taking a deep breath, she rose from her bed, her determination solidifying with each step toward the small, dusty attic door. The journal in her hands felt like an anchor to sanity, a reminder that this journey, though fraught with peril, was necessary. With each creak of the stairs beneath her feet, the shadows around her seemed to shift, more alive than ever, As if anticipating the unveiling of long-buried secrets, reaching the attic, she paused. The air was thick with dust and memories. Old boxes lined the walls, relics of a life once vibrant. She set the journal on the rickety table in the center, casting a nervous glance around the attic. The corners were dark, and just as Emma's heart began to race again, she caught sight of something glowing faintly in the back. It was the same faint light she had seen in her dreams, beckoning her closer. Something deep within her urged her to investigate. As she approached, the glow intensified, illuminating a small, ornate keyhole carved into the door that she had seen in her visions. Emma's breath hitched. Could this be the key to unlocking her past the answers she so desperately sought? The whispers grew louder in her ears, now almost like a chant. Unlock it, unlock it. Emma's hands trembled as she pulled the small key hanging from the chain around her neck. It had been a gift from her grandmother, a trinket she had always taken for granted. Now, under the weight of the moment, its significance struck her with clarity. "Is this what you meant for me?" she whispered to the key, feeling a cold chill dance up her spine. Guided by instinct, she inserted the key into the quivering lock. As she turned it, a deep, resonant click echoed through the attic, vibrating through her bones. The air shifted, and for a fleeting moment, she felt a rush of something dread, surged through her, but the door did not budge. It held her gaze, almost mocking her. Had the dark figure been right? Was the door a prison of some sort? "You're just a coward," she chided herself. "You're the only one who can free your own soul." Gathering her courage, Emma flung the door open, heart racing. A blinding light poured out, illuminating the surrounding darkness. For a moment, it was blinding, like stepping into the sun after a long winter. But as her eyes adjusted, the scene unfolded before her, a sprawling chaos of fractured memories, shadows dancing like phantoms. Faces emerged, morphing into those she once knew: her family, her friends, even herself. They called out, but the words were distorted, an echo of something she had long ignored. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped her shoulder, snapping her back to reality. The dark figure stood before her, its presence pressing down like a thundercloud. It was exactly as she envisioned. Its gaze was piercing, filled with centuries of sorrow and anguish. "Emma," it whispered, its voice a low growl, "you thought this was merely a dream?" Fear exploded in her chest, but a flicker of fierce resolve ignited within. She would find out the truth, no matter the cost. But as she stood before the looming figure, uncertainty crept back in. What if the truth was more horrifying than even her worst nightmares? The darkness shifted, suffocating any light around them, isolating Emma in a tumbling cascade of terror. What awaited her on the other side of this confrontation? As she stood, poised on the edge of revelation, she could hardly breathe. Would she walk the narrow line back to the light, or plunge into the depths of her nightmares? The figure loomed closer, its breath cold against her skin. Emma's pulse quickened as she searched for strength, biting her lip to stave off panic. Shadows rolled in, wrapping around her like a shroud, each second stretching into an eternity. Silence engulfed her, and for a moment, she forgot how to speak. "Why are you here?" She finally managed to gasp, her voice barely above a whisper. The dark entity tilted its head, and a chilling smile crept across its face. "You invite me, Emma." "You've always invited me," it purred, each word slithering into her mind like a serpent. "Don't you want to know who you really are?" "I'm not afraid of you," she blurted, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. The visions, the voices, everything spiraled back to this unholy encounter. What if her fears were right? What if the truth would unravel her soul? With determined steps, Emma forced herself further into the light spilling from the doorway. The spectral figures writhed and distorted as they watched her, mouths moving in a cacophony of indistinct whispers. She wished she could decipher their words, tease apart the tangled emotions behind them. "Emma." A familiar voice rang out amid the chaos. Her heart stilled as she recognized the tone. "Emma, please. Don't listen to it." "Sam?" she cried, eyes darting desperately around the room. Sam had been her best friend since childhood, always the protective one. The shadows shifted, revealing the outline of Sam's face, twisted with fear. You have to fight it. Don't give in. Fight what? She yelled back, desperation clawing at her throat. What is it? What does it want? It feeds on your doubt and regret your pain. It wants to claim you, Emma. Sam's voice trembled, and the darkness flared around him, almost swallowing him whole. Shut up. The figure hissed, its voice harsh and jagged. She doesn't need you. She's better off without you. You mean nothing to her. No, Emma screamed, clenching her fists. You're wrong. I've fought too long to let you take anything else from me. As if her words had sparked something, the light flared more intensely, drowning out the darkness. In that moment, everything shifted. She saw the outlines of her memories more clearly, the joys, the heartbreaks, everything she thought she had buried. Remember, Emma. You're stronger than you know. Sam's voice cut through the fog of despair, igniting a fire within her. Memories of laughter, love, and courage reclaimed space in her heart. With a fierce battle cry that echoed through the attic, Emma reached out toward the figure, feeling warmth radiate from her palm. You don't own me. I own my past, and I will take control. The dark figure recoiled, hissing as shadows writhed around it. Its eyes seemed to flare with a mixture of rage and disbelief, a storm brewing in their depths. But she felt the power within her coalescing, a force that begged to be freed. Shatter, she declared, summoning every ounce of her will. The darkness began to crack, splintering apart as a brilliant light flooded the attic. Suddenly, everything jolted. Emma felt herself teetering on the edge of consciousness, the weight of the past pressing down hard as the remnants of the figure swirled in chaos. And then, just as quickly as it began, an eerie calm settled. The light enveloped her completely, but she couldn't shake the chilling whisper that floated into her ears just before everything faded to black. Your journey has just begun. Panic surged through her, a primal instinct urging her to fight against the encroaching void. Would she awaken to find her fears fully realized, or would she break free once and for all? Emma blinked, the world around her shifting back into focus as if a curtain had been drawn aside. She was no longer in the attic, but lying on the cool wooden floor of her childhood bedroom. The familiar scent of lavender mixed with stale air hit her nostrils, grounding her amid the whirlwind of emotions still swirling in her mind. But something felt off. A suffocating heaviness weighed her down, leaving her gasping. The shadows that had once chased her were not gone. They lingered, lurking at the edges of her vision. Heart pounding, she pushed herself to sit upright. Emma. Sam's voice broke through the haze, and she turned to see him standing in the doorway, panic etched on his face. I thought I lost you. What happened? She croaked, raw fear drenched in every syllable. Was it real? It was real enough, Sam replied, stepping closer, his eyes darting around as if expecting the dark figure to lunge at them from the shadows. You were fighting it, Emma. You can't let it win. As the pieces fell into place, Emma grasped the significance of Sam's words. She had pushed the figure back, but not without cost. What if it comes back? She whispered, fear rising like bile in her throat. It will, Sam said harshly, glancing out the window. It's not finished with you. It's bound to you, and now it knows your strength. A shiver chilling her bones, Emma inhaled deeply. She had to confront this. Then we'll figure it out together. I want to face it alone again. Emma, we don't even know what it is. How do we fight an enemy that thrives on our fears? Sam's frustration bubbled to the surface, hands balled into fists. We need to get out of here. No, she shook her head, defiance blooming within her as memories flooded back to the fight she had just endured. I need to go back. There are answers, truths hidden in the battle I fought. If I'm going to defeat it, I have to know it. Sam stepped back slightly, weighing her determination, and inhaled sharply. This is dangerous. What if you open the door for it to get in again? I have to take that chance, Emma insisted, flames of resolve rippling in her chest. We can't let it dictate my life any longer. Just as she steadied herself, an icy draft snuck through the window, sending a tremor rippling through the room. Shadows thickened, swirling, an ominous energy that tugged at her spirit like a siren's song. The atmosphere grew heavier, the air thickening with expectation. Emma, Sam warned, his face paling as a dark silhouette materialized next to the window, spectral and sinister. You need to, but she held her ground, summoning the strength she had ignited in the attic. Show yourself. I'm not afraid of you anymore. The shadow quivered, then expanded, hissing with sharpness that raised the hairs on the back of her neck. You think you've banished me? I am within you, Emma. You will never be free. The realization struck her like a punch. This was more than a haunting, it was a battle for her own identity. The truth of who she was, not just a victim of darkness, but a warrior wielding light. Then let's dance, Emma snarled with newfound fury, staring down the figure as it twisted and writhed, warping reality around it. Just when she felt she was gaining ground, a piercing scream echoed through the house, a sound of pure terror that belonged to someone she loved. Her heart skipped, panic flooding her body. Sam. The shadow shifted, laughter reverberating off the walls. You need to choose, Emma. Fight for yourself or save him, but you can't do both. Emma's breath caught, her heart racing in a wild drumbeat of dread. In that moment, she realized the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. What choice would she make in the face of the looming darkness? Emma's heart pounded in her chest, a frantic drumbeat urging her to act. She couldn't let fear take hold. Not again. Not after everything she had experienced. Sam needed her, and she swore she wouldn't abandon him, but that voice, taunting, slick with menace, still lingered in her mind. Choose, it whispered, curling around her thoughts like smoke. Stop, she yelled, forcing the word out, but the sound was swallowed by the rising panic. Sam's terrified face loomed closer, his eyes wide and pleading. Emma, please. It's going to shut up. She snapped, authority lacing her voice. Focusing on the dark shadow instead, she felt warmth swell within her. You think I'm afraid of you? You're just a mirage of my fears. You can't have him. The shadow twisted violently, the laughter morphing into something cruel and guttural. Every choice you make bleeds into your very soul. And soon, both will belong to me. It lunged at Sam, a swift whip of darkness igniting the air with chilling force. Emma. Sam shouted again, desperation thick in his tone. He fell back, fear etching lines into his skin. The defiance crackled inside Emma like electricity. She wasn't just fighting the shadow, she was fighting for Sam, the very essence of her heart. You want to take him? She roared, raising her hand and summoning the strength she felt earlier in the attic. The golden light ignited from her fingertips, illuminating the room with a fierce glow. The dark figure hissed, recoiling from her glow, but it wasn't retreating. It pushed back, and the room grew colder, shadows dancing menacingly along the walls as it lunged once more. You think you can wield light? You'll only draw deeper into the abyss. Try me. She screamed, summoning light into a radiant ball that pulsed between her palms. It felt surreal, powerful, and yet terrifying, like holding a live wire. With a determined thrust, she hurled the bright energy at the shadow. It struck true and burst into blinding fragments, dispelling darkness momentarily, the tendrils of fear shattering as if made of glass. Sam blinked, hope flickering in his eyes, but it wasn't enough. The darkness reformed quickly, more menacing than before, and twisted into a grotesque shape, a reflection of Emma's own fears, mocking her insecurities. You're nothing without me, Emma. A frightened girl lost in shadows. No. She shot back, her voice steadier, filled with resolve. I'm not afraid of who I am anymore. I'm breaking free. The golden light surged again, filling her with energy, and she concentrated on everything she loved: the laughter, the warmth of friendship, the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Each thought fueled her power. This time, when she released the light, it exploded outward like a shockwave, illuminating every nook and cranny. The shadow shrieked, twisting away from the brilliance. But instead of breaking, it lunged, as if being drawn towards its own demise, shrieking in fury and agony. Sam, get out! Emma cried, pushing him away as she felt the power ripple beneath her skin. He stumbled back but refused to move further. I'm not leaving you. Not again. In that moment, the shadow lunged straight for Emma, despair radiating from its form, and time seemed to slow. Everything around her went dark, echoing with Sam's voice. Emma, don't. Fight for us. Emma shouted with every ounce of strength she could muster. Then it all went black. When the darkness lifted, Emma felt herself weightless, floating surrounded by a vast expanse of nothing and everything. It was both peaceful and oppressive at once. Distant sounds echoed around her, soft whispers and crying. She blinked, searching for familiarity, her senses spinning wildly. Something was still there, creeping at the edges of her consciousness. The darkness hadn't fully let go. Emma, a faint voice broke through the void. Sam? She strained to reach him, but her voice was trapped, stifled by invisible chains. Emma. The calling was urgent, echoed with desperation. Then she remembered the choice looming before her, the consequences, the unfinished chapters of her life. Would she succumb to the darkness, or would she dive back into the light? Suddenly, from the void came a chilling realization. The shadow was more than a fear. It held secrets tied to her very soul. Emma, you must return. The voice urged again. Was it Sam, or something more ominous? But which truths was she willing to face? As uncertainty fluttered deep in her chest, the shadows lurked ready to consume once more. In this fight, would she comprehend the cost of knowledge, or would darkness snatch away the last remnants of her spirit? The answers awaited, and the urge to understand pulled at her, inviting, haunting, inescapable. What lay behind the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? Emma gasped, a rush of cold air filling her lungs as the darkness began to twirl around her like an angry storm. She felt the weightlessness vanish, and gravity yanked her back down. Flashes of color erupted in front of her eyes, blurring into disorienting streams as she surged back toward reality. With a jolt, she landed hard on a cold, wooden floorboards, the breath knocked from her. The overwhelming sensation of despair wrapped around her throat. Sam, she shouted, looking frantically around a dimly lit space. Emma. His voice cut through the haze like a knife, but she couldn't see him. Shadows flitted along the walls, whispering secrets that gnawed at her resolve. They beckoned her, urged her to join them. Stay with me, she cried out, pulling herself upright, legs unsteady beneath her. She could feel the remnants of that terrible shadow creeping along her skin, whispering doubts that echoed in her mind. Sam, where are you? Over here. His voice was clearer now, filled with urgency. She turned, her heart racing once more. He stood behind her, raw fear etched into his features. Relief washed over her at the sight of him, but it was short-lived. The walls of the room were pulsating, shadows coiling and curling around the edges, ready to strike. Emma, I felt you. You were gone. I know, she replied, shaking her head, attempting to will away the suffocating fear. The room shivered ominously, and she braced herself for another wave of darkness. We need to get out of here, now. But that voice, the sweet, palpable darkness, lingered, weaving its way into her thoughts. Why run, Emma? This is where you truly belong. This is your destiny. Laughter echoed through her mind, chilling her to the core. Face me, and everything will be revealed. No, she screamed, a defiant fire igniting within her. I'm not afraid of you. I will not be your puppet. The shadows roared, a cacophony of rage. Suddenly, they surged forward, twisting around her. Anxiety clawed at her mind as her heart thudded loudly in opposition to the drumming darkness. Emma, fight it, Sam yelled, his voice cutting through her fog. Remember what you felt. Believe in the light. Drawing from that radiant energy she had felt before, she focused on the warmth enveloping her heart, the laughter, the friendships, each joyous memory a lifeline in the storm. With a leap of faith, she raised her arms and summoned the light again. It burst forth, cascading like a waterfall of pure hope, pushing away the darkness with sapphire brilliance. The shadows hissed, retreating momentarily, but it wasn't enough. Emma, a softer voice, less sinister, but equally demanding, flowed through her like a yearning tide. Unlock what lies within you. Unlock? She murmured to herself, the confusion battling against her determination. Was there something hidden, something worth discovering? The shadows twisted back, more feral now, more desperate. You can't escape the truth. You are the darkness, you are the light. No, she roared, desperation fueling her fire. I am both. I will not be defined by my fears. In that moment of clarity, she felt something shift within her, a key turning in a long-forgotten lock. A vision flashed in her mind, traces of her past intertwining with the promise of tomorrow. Here was the truth. She needed to embrace both to transcend. Emma, please. Sam's voice shot through her thoughts, raw with urgency. The shadows glimmered, dark veils parting as memories began to resurface. The weight of knowledge pressed heavily. You must see, Emma. Find the courage to fight or be consumed. She could almost taste the bitterness of secrets laced in the shadows, urging her to relent. But deep within the tumult, she found a flicker of awareness. The choice was hers to make. The room roared back into focus, blending with the cries of the shadows as they lunged for her once more. Would she pull the thread of truth, unraveling the web of darkness, or weave it deeper into her soul? As the light surged back, illuminating the room, she felt the choice settling into her bones. And then, just before she could grasp the reality before her, a vision soared through the brilliance. A shadowed figure, darker than the night, loomed in the laughter, the familiar silhouette haunting her. It was time for answers, but would they be too much for one heart to handle? What lurked behind the familiar face in the dark, waiting to be confronted? The shadows writhed around Emma, their snarls mixing with her frantic heartbeat. She could feel the heat begin to swirl in her palms, a reaction driven by sheer panic and a flicker of hope. The face in her vision loomed larger, a mirror reflecting back the depths of her nightmares, each fear viciously clawing for dominance. Emma, focus. You can't let it distract you. Sam's urgent words echoed, slicing through the chaos. Taking a deep breath, she gripped the wooden floor with trembling fingers, searching for stability. The connection they'd once shared fueled her, and she reached out for it, a ladder suspended over darkness. The memories flooded back, moments of laughter, pain, love, and loss. Each one was a thread, intertwining with the fabric of who she was. Remember our dreams? Sam continued, his voice steadying a tempest within her. Those ambitions. You had to remind yourself why you keep fighting. A surge of laughter, sweet and pure, returned to her, wrapping around her heart like a protective shield. In the face of darkness, Emma felt the energy of those dreams ignite. She stood tall, refusing to let the shadows pull her under. I am not just light, and I'm not just darkness. I am both. The room vibrated, a low hum swelling as her voice grew stronger. The shadows hissed, coils of despair writhing in protest. But she didn't flinch. As if in response, bursts of iridescent light glimmered from her fingertips, cascading over Sam. His eyes widened, reflecting a mix of admiration and dread. Your strength, it's powerful, Emma. Suddenly, the shadowed figure materialized within the swirling winds, becoming clearer, a face she recognized, edging closer with haunting familiarity. It lingered at the periphery, a cruel mockery of the person she once adored, the one she thought she lost forever. No. No, no, no. Emma shook her head violently, pushing back the fear creeping in. It was too much to bear. That face had once been a source of comfort, but now it embodied everything that haunted her. Emma. Sam's voice swallowed her spiraling thoughts. Whatever you do, don't look away. You have to establish who you are. The shadows lunged, their tendrils grasping. Emma closed her eyes, breathing through the panic. I choose to see the truth. Illuminated by her defiance, her memory shot forth like a kaleidoscope. She envisioned their shared laughter leaning against the glow of the sunset, soft touches on a long-forgotten summer. But then came the pain, the loss, like shards piercing through cloth. The shadowed figure was both a dream and a nightmare, a vibrant reminder of all the cracks in her heart. Face it, Sam urged, stepping closer, confidence pouring into her. This darkness is a reflection of choices made. Don't give it power. With every ounce of will, Emma swung her arms wide, catalyzing the light engulfing her. The warmth radiated, pushing back the shadows while illuminating the figure before her. "Enough," she screamed. "I am not just a casualty of your darkness." The figure made a move, an eerie smile creeping across its features, but right before Emma's eyes, it began to bleed away, merging into surrounding shadows. The resistance against her light faltered, and for a moment, she glimpsed clarity behind the swirling mess. But just as it began to fade, whispers of darkness clawed back, swirling around her like dying leaves in autumn. "You can't escape your past, Emma. It will always be a part of you." "No." Sam's cry was desperate, grounding her back. "If you don't confront it, it will consume you." Their combined energy pulsated, the shadows momentarily startled, as Emma's resolve hardened. "I will confront my truth." In that instant, she wasn't just fighting against darkness, she was reclaiming herself. The shadows recoiled, their sinister grins morphing into snarls as Emma's light grew dangerously fierce. But just before she fully understood what she was unleashing, the floor quaked beneath them. "Emma." Sam yanked her arm, eyes wide in shock. "We're not done here. There is more beneath the surface." The ground trembled violently, splintering underfoot as she felt the hidden depths of her soul crack open. "Brace yourself." Was it destiny waiting just beneath, or something darker lurking, ready to rise? The ground fissured with an angry roar, sending pieces of wood splintering towards the air like shrapnel. Emma stumbled, pulling Sam with her as they desperately sought balance amid the chaos. Her heart raced, drumming against her ribs like a warning bell. She fought to maintain her focus, the shadows still coiling around them, hissing their threats. Then, from the earth's gaping maw, a cold wind surged, howling with ancient anguish. It carried whispers, voices layered thick with regret, anger, and despair. Each word felt like needles on Emma's skin, scratching at the edges of her sanity. "Emma, hold on," Sam shouted above the cacophony, anchoring her to the moment. "I can't." "The voices," she gasped, her eyes wide as the shadows encircled her mind, threatening to suffocate the light she had fought to summon. Ghostly figures flickered in and out around them, memories warped and twisted, but the faces were all too familiar, the people she had loved and lost. They reached for her, ethereal hands grasping desperately, their eyes filled with sorrow. "Stop!" Emma screamed, breaking through the haze of memories that tried to swallow her whole. They were her memories, yet they felt like a guillotine, ready to drop at any moment. "You are not real. You are only fragments of my past." With a rawness that surprised her, she called upon the light again, summoning it from the depths of her heart. Its radiance surged through her, brilliant and unyielding as it pushed back against the yanking tendrils of shadow. The apparitions shrieked as the light shattered the darkness, their forms flickering like dying embers. But the deeper the shadows retreated, the stronger their grasp seemed to become. They lashed out violently, desperate and feral, clawing at her light. "Remember who you are," Sam yelled, his voice a beacon against the storm. "You are not merely the sum of your fears. You possess power." His encouragement surged into Emma, solidifying her resolve. She clenched her fists, envisioning the life she wanted to reclaim. "I am fierce. I am light. I will not be defined by you." With each proclamation, the room shifted dangerously, energy unfurling like an unstoppable tidal wave. Her illumination burned brighter, and suddenly, the rift in the floor exploded outward, releasing a blinding pulse that dispelled the shadows momentarily. But what emerged from that chaos wasn't a release, it was a figure. Tall, looming, its body cloaked in darkness, it stepped out of the shadows as if born from them. Emma's breath hitched at the sight. It was her deepest fear made flesh, a dark silhouette of someone she believed to be gone, yet here it stood, exuding an ancient malevolence. "Did you think you could merely erase me?" It rasped, its voice slithering through the air like smoke. "I am you. Every choice you made, every regret you carry, I am the darkness that cannot be exorcised. You are bound to me." Emma recoiled, a chill crawling up her spine. It was true, this was the embodiment of every heartache, every misstep. The darkness was a part of her. But could she outrun it? Fight. Sam's shout snapped her back to reality. Do not run away again. Emma gritted her teeth, steeling herself against the looming threat. She would not turn her back on her truth, but facing it meant braving deeper fears than she'd ever encountered. With a heartbeat pounding in her ears, she took a step forward. I want to let you win. I choose to live, to embrace all of me, even you. The shadows within her twisted at her defiance, hissing in outrage as she raised her hands high, channeling her strength. Would they collapse under the brilliance she was beginning to wield? Or were they gathering for one last desperate assault? As light clashed against darkness, the room shook violently, echoing through the void with an echo of fate itself. And just when Emma thought she might break through, the figure lunged, a rictus grin spreading across its face. You will regret this, Emma. The real battle has yet to come. Suddenly, everything went dark, swallowed by an overwhelming absence of light, leaving Emma alone with her panic, an ominous whisper echoing in the silence. What awaited her in this abyss? Emma's heart thudded loudly in the suffocating darkness, each pulse a reminder of her reality slipping away. The whispers returned, echoing through the void like ominous shadows come to life. The weight of despair pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. This isn't the end, she whispered to herself, forcing her voice to cut through the fear that threatened to engulf her. She reached out, her fingers grazing nothingness, searching for a point of anchorage. Her mind raced, remembering Sam's fierce determination, the way he had fought to keep her grounded. I have power, she murmured, trying to ignite that flicker of light in her, but it felt so far away. Suddenly, a flicker, just a spark, illuminated the space around her. It grew with each heartbeat, a glimmer of hope that pierced through the dense black fog. As the light expanded, she felt warmth enveloping her, igniting those deep, hidden corners of her psyche where light had been banished by the shadows. Where are you? She cried out, her voice mingling with the sorrowful echoes. The darkness shifted, swirling violently, responding to her words like a wounded animal. Then she saw it, the figure looming again, but this time it wasn't just a silhouette. It was sharper, more defined, holding the faces of everyone she had ever lost. Return to me, Emma, a voice whispered, a symphony of her guilt and sadness entwined. You can't escape what you are. I'm not afraid of you, she shouted defiantly, her voice trembling but resolute. You're just a reflection of my past. With determination glimmering in her eyes, she conjured that bright light again deep within her. It sparked fiercely as anger and courage swept over her, pushing the shadows farther back. The memory of her losses swirled around her, and she felt each tinged with love instead of regret. I want to let you control me, she roared. As she unleashed the light, it surged resplendently, cutting through the suffocating dark, illuminating every corner, revealing the twisted faces around her. They weren't just memories, they were pieces of her, binding her with strings of anguish and remembrance. The phantom figures wailed as the light broke through their grips. But the darker figure stood firm, its grin twisted, mocking her efforts. Fleeting beams of light will never erase me, Emma. I'm ingrained in your soul. She hesitated, and for just a moment, doubt clawed at her resolve. But then she reminded herself of the victories in her life, of moments where she had fought for herself and won. With newfound intensity, Emma pressed forward, unraveling her own heart's secrets, desperate to reclaim every fragment of her identity. As she drew from that well of light, she called upon the strength woven into her spirit. I refuse to let the past dictate my future. I am whole. I am free. The darkness groaned like a wounded beast, recoiling from her power as if it were sunlight washing over a hidden cave. But before it could entirely fade, the shadows coiled back, whispering sinister truths meant to wound her mind. Face the truth, Emma. You cannot escape the darkness inside. It will always claim you. Suddenly, the ground shook violently beneath her, and the darkness surged back with a vengeance, the full weight of her fear leveraging against her frail confidence. Emma stumbled, trying to find her footing in this violent realignment caused by her own courage. The room twisted, flashing erratically between light and dark, tempestuous and chaotic. She felt Sam's presence somewhere nearby, an anchor, yet the figures taunted her with their familiarity, a maelstrom of emotions overwhelming her senses. Emma. Sam's voice became clearer, fighting against the shadows, but it was hard to focus amid the chaos. You need to regain control. She felt the ground stabilizing, but only for a flicker of a moment. Shadows and flickering memories loomed large, threatening to consume her once more. Could she truly be whole within this turmoil? Would the light she summoned hold against the darkness that had long claimed her? The echoes of her past screamed around her, shattering her concentration. Emma felt herself being pulled apart, as if two worlds were battling for dominance within her. And amid the relentless roar of her uncertainty, a fierce determination sparked. This was just the prelude. With all the strength she could muster, she closed her eyes and summoned the light one final time, ready to confront the very fabric of her being. But as the light burst forth brighter than before, a voice echoed louder than all others. Remember, Emma, the darkest hour comes before the dawn. Was this truly her dawn or merely the illusion of it? Emma gasped as the light enveloped her, filling every crevice of her being. The shadows convulsed, twisting and writhing in protest against the brilliance she had summoned. In that moment, she could feel the darkness surrounding her begin to thin, a substance that was once solid now wavering like smoke. This is it, she whispered to herself, her voice trembling but resolute. This is where I break free. Sam's face cut through the chaos, his eyes burning with hope and fierceness. Emma, you're doing it. You're pushing it back. His encouragement surged through her, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. The dark figure that had haunted her twisted violently, rage spilling into the open air as its shape morphed, seeking to grasp her light, but continuously recoiling. I am not afraid, Emma shouted, her voice carrying the raw power of her determination. You are merely a manifestation of my fears and doubts. But I choose to embrace all that I am, the light and the dark. The shadows screeched, the agonizing sound like nails on a chalkboard. Emma pushed deeper, driving her light forward until it erupted, cascading around her in radiant waves. Memories flashed, and each burst drew from the happiness she had shared with Sam, the laughter, the love, everything that once pulled her out of the darkness. But then she felt something shift. Shadows surged forward, attempting to clutch at her, their whispers drowning out everything else. You cannot escape. You will always be mine, they hissed, desperation draping over their words. I refuse, Emma shouted back, clenching her fists as light poured from her palms in blinding force. I am stronger than you. Her memories formed like a shield, each joyous echo igniting another burst of brilliance until the light flickered at the very edges of her being. The dark figure loomed closer, its face now uncomfortably familiar, a visage that might have once brought her comfort twisted into a reminder of all that she had lost. You can't silence me, it shrieked, closer than ever. No, you don't own me, Emma cried out, and she felt newfound clarity wash over her. You are part of my past, but you are not my future. With that thought, she threw herself into the weight of the memories that had shaped her, the good and the bad. She opened up her heart, ready to accept everything she had ever faced. The bright light exploded again, reconfiguring the room entirely, driving back the shadows. I am more than my pain. I am whole, she screamed, her voice a sonic wave that cleaved through the raging darkness. Then, suddenly, the figure shrank back, its twisted features warping before her eyes. The shadows wobbled, churning desperately as they fought against the radiance. No, you will pay for this. It howled, the sound shaking the walls, but Emma stood firm. She reached out toward Sam, their eyes locking in a fierce determination that told her she was not alone. Together, they shouted in unison, channeling their combined forces, her light and his relentless spirit urging the last remnants of darkness away from them. With one final surge, the light erupted and engulfed the dark figure. It shrieked in agony, the sound reverberating before bursting into 1,000 motes. The shadows dissolved around them, collapsing into nothing, leaving only a resounding silence that filled the air richly. A lull after the storm. As the darkness evaporated, a calm tranquility settled. Emma blinked, the world around her shifting into focus, as if she were just awakening from a deep sleep. She was in her childhood bedroom once again, but this time, it felt different, lighter. The scents of lavender wafted through the air, a reminder of love and safety wrapped in normalcy. Emma. Sam rushed to her side, his eyes bright with relief and joy. The bond between them pulsed with a new energy, one that promised resilience and understanding. You did it. We did it. Emma couldn't help but smile through the tears welling in her eyes. It's finally over, isn't it? For now, he replied solemnly. But life is a series of battles. We'll face them together. With a lingering moment, Emma wrapped her arms around Sam, both of them drawing comfort and strength from one another. Only now did she realize how much of herself she had allowed to be defined by fear. Yet with Sam beside her, the shadows that once haunted her didn't have the power they once did. Let us keep unlocking those secrets, she said, a gentle smile on her lips. Together. And as they both stepped into the warmth of the morning sun drifting through the windows, there was a resplendent promise in the air, a promise that even the darkest nights could lead to the brightest dawns. Now it's your turn to join this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. Let's talk about what just went down. And don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Your support matters. And only true fans understand how important these actions are.